Hey, third grade readers, we are nearing the end of our Reading to Learn unit. And so I just kind of wanted to review some of the texts that we have used to become experts on how to approach some nonfiction books. So, as you may remember, we started our unit with our Gorillas book. And we noticed that inside of that, we had things like subheadings and bold words and photographs with captions and a table of contents with chapter headings. And we found out that that is what a lot of expository nonfiction books have, where they kind of give you a report full of facts about whatever the topic is. But then we discovered there are other types of nonfiction that are really told in more of a story format. And while you can get facts from them and you can certainly learn lots about not only people, but also places and events and times in our history, it's told more in the format of a story where we have characters and they face challenges and how do they overcome those challenges. And we even learn life lessons from those. And we discovered we can call those narrative nonfiction, right? And beyond that, we know there are biographies in that narrative nonfiction genre, but we also learned about Pierre the Penguin and know that we can learn about animals in narrative nonfiction as well. What I wanted to tell you today is that sometimes there are books that you're going to pick up that are nonfiction, and they're not just expository, but they're also not just narrative. They're kind of a mix of the two, right? They're kind of a hodgepodge, and we call that hybrid, right? So there are some hybrid nonfiction books that have some parts that look like they're expository, but then other parts it sounds like a narrative nonfiction. And today I want to teach you how to identify the difference between those two types of writing within the same text. Because remember, we get our minds ready. We rev our minds up differently if we know it's going to be expository nonfiction versus if we know we're reading a narrative nonfiction. So let's practice with a short passage, and then you'll get a chance to practice on your own. So this is an excerpt, meaning just a small portion of a bigger piece of work called George Washington's Breakfast. And as I read, you'll notice that we have little clues like narrative and expository after certain paragraphs. And we'll stop and pause and discuss about what makes that part of the excerpt more like a narrative and what makes that partly more like an expository. George W. Allen was proud of two things: his name and his birthday. George was named for George Washington, and he had the same birthday, February 22nd. It made him feel almost related, he said. It made him want to know everything there was to know about George Washington. This definitely feels like storytelling right now. It feels like I have a character, George. I know what he's feeling. He's feeling related to George Washington. I know what his wants are. Remember, somebody wanted but so, and it said he wants to know everything about George. So it definitely feels like narrative nonfiction there. Already he knew quite a lot. He knew that Washington was a general and lived in Virginia and was 6 feet tall and married to Martha and was the first president of the United States. It feels like I'm getting kind of a report on just George Washington right now. I've got a lot of facts there. Let's keep reading. He knew that Washington rode 2 horses in the war, Blueskin and Nelson, but Nelson was his favorite because he was so steady in gunfire. He knew that Washington once had 10 hunting dogs, and then this author goes to list all 10 hunting dogs. You'll see at the end, expository, because look at all these facts that we have. This doesn't really tell us anything about our character George or the character of George Washington, much about what they're thinking or about what they're feeling or their challenges that they faced or their life lessons that they learned. It really is just giving me facts. Was a general, Virginia, 6 feet tall, married Martha, first president of the United States, had horses in the war, and so on. So you can see here that I need to shift my thinking. I'm no longer looking for characters with problems and resolutions. Now I'm looking to find, okay, how can I retain the facts? How do I identify what is the most important, what is unrelated? How do I get my mind to start creating boxes and bullets? Because that is the way you think when you approach an expository text, right? So now I am going to give you an opportunity to take a look at a hybrid text. And I want you to be able to identify what parts of this text are expository, and I need to get my brain ready by doing boxes and bullets, and what parts of this text are narrative, where I'm going to be looking for characters and the challenges that they face, and possibly a lesson that they learned. Good luck.